Hello, my name's Charlie Edgley and this is my nephew Alex Nelms, and we're a family partnership, Kensham farms based in the Chiltern Hills in Buckinghamshire, 860 hectare farm growing roughly 800 hectares of continuous milling wheat.
With a few other SFI plots and bits and bobs around the outsides, game covers and things that...
Habitat, biodiversity. We were asked to do the Yara variable rate nitrogen trial, which we've done for the first time this year.
So I think our experience with Yara Atfarm and Operations Center being the first year that we've used the Atfarm system, it was initially found it very intuitive. So the dashboard, the layout of the fields, all very easy to follow. The importing of data from Operations Center from my John Deere was seamless. You log it, enter your credentials, press the button, and whoosh, all the fields appeared, all the boundaries and names, everything that's familiar to us. Then Atfarm brought in that satellite imagery, the historic biomass photographs, so we could see what the field was growing at any point in time in the past. And then using that, we were able to create these variable rate nitrogen maps. That was a novel thing for us, not something we'd ever done before. Through the help from Yara and from Simon Beddoes at Farrell, our My John Deere specialist, we had a bit of hand holding, but we were able to create these maps and something that was actually going to be useful for us and our end application.
Luckily, our fertiliser spreader was all enabled for variable rate applications. We had all the technology available, we just needed a bit of a prod to use it more efficiently. We invest heavily in nitrogen fertiliser for our milling wheat, and we're on very variable rate soils. We were looking to try and use our inputs more efficiently, and so the first main application was about evening the crops up. So that was about putting more nitrogen on the thinner areas and less on the thicker areas to try and have a more even crop. And then a later application was about trying to get consistent protein levels in our milling wheat. So that involved putting more nitrogen on the thicker areas and less on the thinner areas, so that hopefully we didn't have a protein dilution effect on the higher yielding areas. This is the first year, we haven't gone to harvest yet, so we await the outcome with interest. And we were fully in control, so the first thing we did was, it was down to us to choose what our target rate was, and then from there we could choose how much variation we wanted to go from the target rate, be it 50% less or more than the target rate, or 20% or 30%. So we were completely in control of the parameters that we wanted to vary on this nitrogen application. I think initially we chose not to vary it too much, but on reflection I think we decided to let the Yara software, I think the default was 50% each side of the target rate.
So we started on 30%, yes, being a little bit more on the cautious side, and then after being chivied along by our Farrell and John Deere specialist Simon, who said, "Come on, you've got to give the technology a chance to make a difference," and so we did. Then the second half let the Atfarm parameters, which are 50% as a default, and sort of let that make the maps. We didn't put all of our eggs or faith in the prescription or the technology at first, so hence why this is a trial, and why we want to give that a chance to come through on a handful of fields. Proof will be in the bucket at harvest time.
And the other interesting thing was that where we were doing the variable rate application, the total amount used per field was exactly the same as fixed rate. So it wasn't that you think, oh, how much fertiliser I'm going to use, I'm not sure, am I going to run out, am I going to have some left over? The total amount was exactly the same as if the whole field had been done at a fixed rate. And I thought that was a really, really good feature, because one thing I've always worried about variable rate is how much fertiliser do you order? Are you going to have some left over? Are you going to run out? So we didn't have that problem at all.
This isn't about trying to cut back on the amount we're feeding the field. It's about applying it more in a more targeted way, an increased yield, or achieving that protein that we need for our milling wheats, or a more even crop that is better for the combine. So, all desirable outcomes, and using the technology to try and achieve them. In terms of recommending the service to anyone else, I would say absolutely. Pressing a button through to seeing it all go through to the operator and actually using it in the field was very straightforward. It's improving all the time. We had some feedback. Nick, our operator, had some feedback, which we've been able to pass on to Yarra, to John Deere as well, in terms of the sensitivity of when these jobs wanted to kick in and that type of thing. The outcome of what we're trying to achieve, those even crops and getting the protein that we need, if it can help us do that, it's got to be worthwhile. And using our inputs more efficiently is again something that our industry is coming into keen focus at the moment, and it's got to, if this can help us do that without changing very much, because we've got the technology already on farm, it's got to be the right thing to do.
Yeah, I would add the operator found it very straightforward, because he arrived at the field and selected the field, and it immediately said, there's a variable rate application job for this field, would you like to go ahead? Press yes, and that was literally all he had to do, and it did everything else itself.
The thinking and the thought has gone in the background, so that when you arrive in the field you just get on with doing it. That's how we would like the technology to work, and in this instance it very much works in our favour.
We told the operator that if we had various fields targeted for variable rate application, and we're going to try and bench them against our standard rate application, but we told the operator, if there's a trouble with the technology, just ignore it and go with a blanket rate. So we weren't being held up by anything. He was then be able to report back to us which fields were successfully variably rate applied, and which fields had a blanket application.